This is a novella. Novella means not very lengthy like a novel or short like a short story. It is something which is in between a novel and a short story. And this story is told in a series of short chapters, and the story is told by a 12-year-old girl. She is actually a Chinchana girl, and she tells about how she is growing up not only in age but also in her mind. Her mental growth up is beautifully told by her, and here she talks about moving from one house to another and then finally buying her own house in the Mango Street, which is in Chicago, and she goes there with her family. But thing is, after reaching there, she doesn't like that house, and then she starts exploring the neighborhood, which is also from a financially backward neighborhood, and all about the poor people who are there. And about Sandra Cisneros, she is a poet, short story writer, novelist, essayist, performer, and also an artist. And she has won many awards, and the most important awards among them are NEA fellowships, which she has got both in poetry and fiction, the Texas Medal of the Arts, the MacArthur Fellowship, and several honorary doctorates and national international book awards. And among these, the most important ones are Chicago Fifth Star Award and the Penn Center USA Literary Award and the National Medal of the Art Award, which was presented to her by President Obama in 2016. And most recently also, she received the Ford Fountain's Art of Change Fellowship, and she is recognized by the Frederick Douglass 200, and she has also won the Penn Nabok Award for International Literature. And The House on Mango Tree is actually a coming of age novel, and it has sold more than 6 million copies, and this novel has been translated into more than 20 languages. Not only this, Sandra has also founded the Maconda Foundation and the Alfred Cisneros Del Moral Foundation, and she is also the organizer of Los MacArthur's Latino MacArthur Fellows, who are community activists, and she does a lot of social activity through that. And she has dual citizenship of United States and Mexico, and currently she lives in San Miguel de Allende. And this House on the Mango Street, the narrator's name is Esperanza, and as I told you, she's only 12 years old, and this is the first chapter, and here she tells about how they had shifted their house from one place to another, and she mentions all the street names, and from that we come to know the importance of a home to her through this story. And she also tells about her family. Actually, in this first chapter we do not come to know her name. Her name is actually Esperanza Cordero, but she does not reveal her name. She only talks in the first person narrator, and she tells about her family, which consists of her mother, father, whom she calls as Mama and Papa, and she has two brothers, Carlos and Kiki, and a young sister, Neni. And here she is going to the house in the Mango Street, which is actually the first house owned by the family. And she says that this house is very far away from our old neighborhood, and why they had to vacate that previous houses. The water pipe in the house, it broke, but the landlord refused to repair it, and because of that they did not have water, and at the same time the facilities were too less, and actually they were planning to buy a house for a long time. So they thought this is a correct time to buy, and therefore they have purchased this house. And as she is traveling, she thinks that this dream house, that is their own house, must have running water and then working pipes, and she wants real staircase like the houses which she has seen on TV, and it must be having a basement, and there should be enough washrooms because they are a family of 6. So she feels all that should be there. But after reaching there, she is really disillusioned because the real house is very tiny, crumbling, and there is no yard also around it. And this itself shows that she comes from an economically poor family. And once what happened is, when she was in her previous house, she was playing with her friends in the street. That time a nun from her school passed by, and when she saw her, she asked her where is her house, and when she pointed out her house, the reaction of the nun made her feel so bad, and that made her recognize that she is coming from a very poor background which will not be recognized or appreciated by others, and they will only look low upon her. And actually, if you see, means this novel itself is about finding a house, but the actual meaning is finding oneself. What are you? The search for that self identity is there in this novel. The second chapter is hairs. Here she tells about the different hair types in a house, and she says that her hair is a lazy hair and never obeys at all. It is very difficult to comb, and her papa's hair sticks straight up, and her sister Neni is silky. Carlos is thick, straight, and doesn't need a combing at all. And the youngest Kiki has a hair like fur. But her mother's curls are like roses and candy, and she says that she loves the smell of her mother's hair because it smells like baking bread. And she says it's always been a comfort zone for her. And this itself shows the character of the mother also, who plays a very key role in nurturing the family. Then boys and girls. She says that her brothers Carlos and Kiki are very close comrades, and they share a very good rapport among themselves. And she says though she plays with her sister Neni, she feels that Neni is too young to her, and so she only concentrates on watching over her and trying to save her from the wrong crowd, such like those Vargas kids she mentions. And she says therefore, though she plays with Neni, she does not find friendship in her, and therefore she wants a best friend who will sympathize with her, will share her secrets and laugh at her jokes. My name. This is actually the fourth chapter, and only in this she reveals her real name, and she says that her name is Esperanza, and it means hope. And many people say that this, when they hear this name, it relates to something melancholy or with unfulfilled expectations. And she also remembers why they had given her that name, because it is her great grandmother's name, and she and her great grandmother had born in the Chinese birth year of horse, and therefore they had given a name. And her great grandmother was a wild woman, and what happened is her great grandfather had carried away and he married her, and this shattered her, and the remaining life her great grandmother spent sadly sitting next to the window and just watching out. And Esperanza feels that her life should not be like that, and she will not allow such things to happen in her life. And at the same time she says that Neni, that is her real name is Magdalena, is actually uglier, but anyway Esperanza feels that she wants to give another name for herself, which will tell her true identity, and when they hear the name itself they should know what is her character, and therefore she feels Zizi the X is a suitable name for her. Kathy, Queen of Cats. Once they come to this house in the Mango Street, Esperanza meets Kathy, Queen of Cats. This is how she expresses herself, and Kathy says that she is a great grand cousin of the Queen of France to Joe the baby grabber. And here Kathy descriptions are full of promise that Esperanza wants to observe and also explore in that place. And Kathy speaks a lot about the teenage gossip and all her favorite pastimes and occupants of the Mango Street are expressed through Kathy. And real Esperanza is very happy that she got Kathy there, because now through Kathy she can know about all the people there and how she has to spend her time there. Next chapter is Our Good Day. Here she meets two more girls. They are also her neighbors, Lucy and Rachel. And the moment they come and meet them, Kathy wants Esperanza not to talk with those girls because they smell like a broom and they are below their standard. But what happens is they come and approach Esperanza, and they say that they are planning to buy a cycle. And if Esperanza is able to give them $5, they can buy it because they have the remaining money, and they can share the bicycle among themselves. Though Kathy wants her not to join with them, and she even threatens that she will not be continuing her friendship with Esperanza if she joins them. Esperanza feels that she will gain 2 friends and a bike too if she joins them, so she gives them the $5. Another reason why Esperanza wants their friendship is the moment Kathy meets her itself in the previous chapter, she tells her that they will be friends only for a short time because they are going to vacate that place. And the reason is Kathy's father feels that the neighborhood is becoming low because many poor people are coming to that area. And actually even Esperanza comes from a poor family, so she knows very well that her father has meant people like them are coming to that area, and therefore they feel that it is not good for their status. So she knows very well that Kathy is going to be only for a few days, and already she has a longing for a true best friend. And she finds that Rachel and her sister, they are really good friends, and they will make up for her lost friend who is going to be Kathy. Therefore she agrees, she gives the money, and now they get a bicycle. And now the girls, they decide that each day one of them will use it, but at the same time there's an argument about who is going to ride the cycle first. So they crowd around the bike, and then afterwards they start pedaling and going around the neighborhood. And Esperanza is very happy on sharing this because it is not only the cycle. These girls, they also make her to laugh, and they immediately become new good friends. And there's a comradeship which she has been longing for all these days. Now laughter. Esperanza and Nini do not look like sisters. But when you see Lucy and Rachel, you will say they are sisters because they resemble each other. But Esperanza feels that they both, that is Esperanza and Nini, have the same type of laughter because many of them have told, and she has also seen that. Not only that, whatever runs in Esperanza's mind, she finds Nini also reflecting it. Like for example, one day when they were crossing a house, Esperanza saw the house and she thought that this home resembles the homes in Mexico. And as she is thinking that, Nini also says it loudly. She looks at the house and says, doesn't this house look like the houses in Mexico? So Esperanza feels that though they don't look the same physically, in their physical appearance, their thoughts are same. Gil's furniture bought and sold. The girls go to Gil's junk store and they start exploring there. And Esperanza is surprised because there's so much of furniture and TVs piled one on another, and she feels that it is a perfect place where they can come and get lost. And Esperanza is surprised to see Nini talking boldly to the shop owner and asking him so many questions, and that owner also gives her all the reply which she is asking. And they see a music box which is called as a juke box, and when her sister asks about it, that man is so happy to explain about it, and he even opens it and shows to her and all that. But he says that he is not willing to sell it because it is one of his favorite one, and he is keeping it in the shop, so that is not for sale. Memi Ortiz. Now Kathy vacates the house and she goes off, and in that place Memi Ortiz, he comes there. And Esperanza here, she describes about Memi's sheepdogs and her new ramshackle house which has a giant tree, which is both home for the family as well as there are so many squirrels on the tree. And the site of the first annual Tarzan jumping contest also takes there, and Mimi wins a contest, but he breaks his 2 arms in the game. Louis, his cousin, and his other cousin. Cordero Boy's friend Louis has a cousin, Martin, from Puerto Rico. And Marin lives with the family, and she takes care of Louis' little sisters. And Louis has another cousin, and although Esperanza cannot remember his name, she can never forget the one time she met him, because this cousin, he brought a brand new yellow and big car to the Mango Street. Actually it was a stolen and a convertible car, and he took all of them for a joyride in the neighborhood. But soon they heard sirens approaching them, and the moment Louis' cousin heard the sirens, he tried to run away, but he was taken into custody, and he waved his final goodbye to the neighborhood, and after that she has never seen him. Marin is Louis' cousin, and she is much older to all the other girls, and she also seems to be a wise girl according to Esperanza. And she says to the girls that they have to give her a promise, and then she tells a secret that she is going to marry her boyfriend who is in Puerto Rico. and she will marry him once he gets a job. And the moment he gets a job and she gets married, she will have to leave this place, and she wants to live a happy life with him. But till then, she wants to spend her life nicely, so she keeps looking around. She does not think that she is already engaged or committed to marry that boy. And Esperanza admires Marine's knowledge about beauty and boy secret, and at the same time she says, I do not want to make her as my role model. And she feels that Marine is waiting not just for her boyfriend, but for some man to come and rescue her from this situation which she is living. Those who don't, actually those who don't tells about the acceptance of the black. And she says that many of the white people feel that her colony where she is living, there are many blacks, so they are very afraid to come there. In fact, she finds her friends also asking her how she is living in that area because there are so many blacks. But thing is, Esperanza herself belongs to them, so she feels that there is some sort of a security which comes to you when you live with your own race. And at one day what happens is, she goes to another street which is colony where the white people live, and she found herself shivering. She could feel her knees shaking out of fear because they are all only whites and no blacks were there. So Esperanza says, maybe when you live with your own race, you have a feeling of security, and whether it is black or white, when you go to the colony where the other peoples live, the area where the other peoples live, naturally a feeling of insecurity comes to you and a fear grips you. There was an old woman. Here we have an old woman who has many children, and they are called as Varga's kids. And this mother was a single mother, and she had to earn her living and save the family. And her children were so very disruptive to the neighbors, and they were uncontrollable, that all the neighbors started ignoring them because they knew that if they are going to go and say anything good also, these children are going to only insult them. So even if these children get hurt or if anything happens in the family, no one interfered and tried even to help them. Alicia, who sees mice. Alicia is a person who wants to study. She has no mother, and her father had to look after the family. So in order to take care of the family, she had to step into the shoes of her mother and had to do all the household chores like cooking and maintaining the family. At the same time, she wanted also to study. So what happens is, she'll get up early in the morning and prepare lunchbox tortillas, and then complete all her domestic duties, and she had to travel a far distance to go to the university. So she used to do all this work, and Alisa had a great fear for her father and always obeyed her. And her father used to say that a woman's place is always in the kitchen, where they have to spend their time making tortillas and all that, and take care of the family. And Alicia is a person who does not sleep at all because she studies all night, and she even endures a long distance which she has to travel to the university. But she says that she doesn't mind suffering now and working very hard because she does not want to spend her life in a factory or behind a rolling pin. This shows the importance of women education, and how when you are educated, you can come up in life and raise your standard of living. Dorius and the clouds. Dorius is actually a person who is considered as a stupid boy by his friends, and he also acts like a fool and he torments the girls. But one day everyone sees him looking at the clouds, and then he points to a cloud next to a cluster, and he calls it popcorn, and also he calls a cloud god. And all the people only now they saw a different type because he could see some nature, and he can relate himself with it, and he was able to forget himself in nature, and some more. In this chapter, we witness the banter normally exchanged by the Esperanza, Nenny, Lucy and Rachel as they keep going around in the neighborhood. And they also discuss about different names for people, snow and even clouds. And actually there is a small war of words which is filled with lots of intelligence and laughter. The next chapter is the family of little feet. In this chapter, Lucy, Rachel and Esperanza, they are offered second-hand shoes from a small-footed neighborhood, and the girls are really happy because this is the first time they are going to wear high heels. So they wear high heels and they practice walking around the neighborhood, and they find that all the men are looking at them with interest and all the girls looking at them with disdain. And they're very happy that this family has, every one of them have a little foot, because even the elders' slippers fitted them properly. A rice sandwich. In this chapter, Esperanza says that she wants to eat her lunch in the school room itself, that is in the canteen, and she was told that only the special kids can eat there. And but she feels that if she can sit there and eat, means it will be more nice instead of going home and eating and coming. So she asks what to do, and they say if she gets a letter from her parents, she'll be allowed to eat. So she comes and she convinces her mother to write a letter to her, and she tells her to make rice sandwich so that she can eat it in the canteen. But what happens is, when a nun sees Esperanza eating there, she calls Esperanza and she points a house from the window which belongs to the people who of poor families living, and she says, you are coming from there only, it is very close by. Why are you eating in the canteen? Only today you can eat. Like, she gives permission to eat on that particular day. But she says, from tomorrow you cannot eat because you are staying close by, and this is only for special children, not for you. And after seeing the way the sister has insulted her, Esperanza comes back and only tears comes from her eyes, and she is not able to eat at all. And by this time, even the rice sandwich becomes so very cold, which is not that very good to eat. Chan class. In this stanza, Esperanza sits awkwardly at her cousin's baptism party, because what happened is, her mother buys her pretty new pink and white party dress to buy, but she doesn't buy her new shoes, so she has to wear a school brown shoes and go there, and she feels that her new dress and the old school shoes does not fit properly. So she goes there to the party, and when everyone is dancing, she sits in a corner just observing them. But her uncle Nacho convinces her to come and dance, and Esperanza also unwillingly goes. But as she keeps dancing, she loses her shyness and she starts dancing, forgetting herself, and everyone around her admires her dancing and they clap their hand, and she really feels so happy about coming to the party and feels elated. Hips. In this chapter, we find Esperanza, Nenny, Lucy and Rachel. They get into a conversation and they talk about hips as they are playing jumping rope. And they discuss about the different functions performed by the hip. Like they say, we can dance, hold a baby, and being a woman itself with beautiful hips makes them feel better. And then they start practicing shaking the hips, and they also form rhymes about the hips. And this also includes about the feminine beauty standards and how the hips are so useful to girls to attract men. The first job. Now Esperanza wants to go to the Catholic high school for her higher studies, and for that she has to have some money. So she thinks it will be better if she can take a first job. So she asks her aunt to help her, and aunt says that she can go and work in Peter Pan photo finishers. But thing is, her aunt, that Aunt Lala, she says that you are too young to go to work, so they will not accept you. So you will have to tell lies about your age, and you have to maintain that. So she goes there, and the work is very easy for her. But thing is, she's feeling very shy on the very first day, so she keeps herself separate from others. But there is an Oriental man, an aged man, who comes and he talks with her, and she finds that she can become friends with him because he's very caring and understanding. And in the lunchtime also, he finds her sitting quietly without having lunch, so he calls her to have lunch. And Esperanza goes there, and she trusts him because he is aged. And as they're having lunch, the man says that it is his birthday and she's very happy and she wishes him. And he says, why only wishes? Come and give me a kiss. So Esperanza goes near him to give a kiss on his cheek. But when she goes near his cheek, he suddenly turns and he kisses her hard on her mouth. And this is a very shocking experience for Esperanza because she has never come across such a situation in her life earlier. Papa, who wakes up tired in the dark. Every day Esperanza's father gets up early to go to work. But one day what happens is, he wakes up Esperanza, and Esperanza gets up, and she finds that her father is very sad. and he says that his father, that is Esperanza's grandfather, has died, and so he has to go there. Since the financial condition is very poor, he cannot afford to take the whole family there, so only he is going to the funeral, which is in Mexico. And since Esperanza is the oldest child of the family, she only has to tell to the family that it is a mourning day and therefore they should not go out and play. And Esperanza for the first time sees a father whom she has seen only as a tough man being broken because of his father's death. And she understands his feeling, and after her father goes, she thinks that how she will feel if she is going to lose a strong providing figure like a father in her life. Born bad. Now Esperanza talks about the cruel chance that chose our Aunt Loop to fall terminally ill. This Aunt Loop was once a very beautiful woman, a good swimmer, and a mother, a wife, and a mother of 2 children. But suddenly, some disease attacked her and left her limbs and eyes destroyed and useless. But Aunt Loop will always wait eagerly for the visits of these girls, and she will listen to all Esperanza's stories, and she kept on encouraging Esperanza to write. Being a child, what happened is these children, they played a game. This game is you have to act out like someone and others have to guess who this person is. And Esperanza blames herself because in the game they imitated Aunt Loop, and they were playing games, and this Aunt Loop is a person who is expecting her death any moment because she was so very sick. But in the childishness they had, they imitated Aunt Loop, how she is and all that, and they found out the name. But now Esperanza feels bad for what she has done. Elenita carts palm water. Now Esperanza wants to know whether she'll really own a house which she wants, and she comes to know about a witch lady who lives there. And actually this witch lady's name is Elenita, who works with her from her kitchen itself by lighting candles, and a plaster saint, and she uses voodoo charms and a cross to predict what others want. Now Esperanza comes there to ask about when she will have her own house, and here what happened is Elenita is busy with the housework, so she asks her to wait for some time, and that time she observes that her children are rowdy children and they are uncontrollable. And Esperanza wonders how Elenita is able to cure headaches to broken hearts using her charms. And then after finishing all her housework, Elenita comes and sits with her, and she asks her to look into a bowl of water, and she asks a question for which Esperanza answers. But finally she says that she will find a home which she longs for in her heart. And this leaves Esperanza disappointed because she wanted a real physical home. She did not understand the real meaning of what Elenita had said. Geraldo, no last name. Marin meets a boy at a dance, and this boy gets killed in a hit and run accident. And since Marin was the last person who saw him, she is taken to the hospital by the policeman to identify the person. But actually Marin does not know much about that man, and she did not know how to give any details about him because he did not have much identity with him. They did not even know what was his second name, and they only knew that he had come from a far off distance, and he was working and he was sending all the money to his family, but they did not know his address. And Marin gets very upset because she feels that after the accident, Gerald could have been saved if he was taken to the hospital on time, but no one came forward to save him, and that is what killed him. And Esperanza, on hearing all this, thinks about the agony that Geraldo's family is going to undergo in Mexico, because he was working very hard and sending them the financial assistance which they needed. But now the family will be living there even without knowing that Geraldo is dead. Edna's Ruth. Now, Ruth is a person who is a grown-up woman. She is married also, but she is staying only with her mother. And she is almost childlike and half a crazy adult. But she is so very rich because they own 3 apartments in that area. And all the children, they like Ruth because she is the only adult who comes and plays with them like a child. And Ruth also is seen to be sitting alone and laughing. She doesn't need anyone to come and sit along with her and laugh. And Esperanza goes and talks with her, and she asks her why you are always in your house. And for that, Ruth always, the regular question is, Ruth will say that husband will come next week to take her, but she is only with her own house. And she also explains about her husband's house, which is so very big and nice. It is almost like the house which Esperanza envies. But she wonders why Ruth is not going to such a big house which her husband owns and only staying with her mother, Earl of Tennessee. Another name is an Earl of who is a southerner, and he lives in Edna's dusty basement. And he is a jukebox repairman, and he works in the night. And during the daytime, what happens is he sleeps, and so he gets irritated if any children come and play there. And sometimes he'll give them some old musty records which is filled in his apartment. And the whole neighborhood gossip about him because they say he must be married because he brings the women to his house in the daytime. And each one describes the women in different ways. From this we understand that he is bringing different women on each other day. And what happens is, another gossip is, they also say why the wife is not staying there for a long time. She comes, that is, the women whom he brings home, they stay for some time in his home and they leave. So we understand that he is not bringing his wife there, but some other women to the house to have physical relationship with them. Sire. And here Esperanza relates her first experience of having friendship with an older boy. Actually, her father calls him a punk, and this boy always keeps staring at her. And soon after, what happens is, Sire's girlfriend Lois arrives there, and Esperanza admires her petite and childlike beauty. But her mama warns her not to join with such girls because they are the ones that go into the alleys. And from her bedroom window in the night, Esperanza hears them talking and laughing and wonders when she will be sitting with one boy and talking outside like this. Four skinny trees. The four ruggedly grown plants is a source of comfort for Esperanza because she feels that it resembles her physical appearance and also a stubborn spirit. And she feels that whenever she wants to give up her dreams, if she is going to look at these trees, it will make her more strong because these trees have their roots plunged deep, which keeps them strong there, and the branches keeps on going high, which is her inspiration. And so she identifies herself with these trees. No speak English. This chapter is about Mamacita, a mother of a hard-working neighborhood man. He works very hard, and now he has brought his mother and his youngest brother there. He's a small baby boy whom the Mamacita brings there. And this Mamacita only stays inside the house. And everyone gossips saying that because she is very fat only she is not coming out. And Esperanza understands that Mamacita is not coming out because she is afraid to speak English. And she is homesick for her country, her language, and also the comforts of the little pink house she has left in her own place. And Mamacita is a person who refuses to learn English, and she also makes her son to come back early and spend time with her. And she keeps on telling him that she wants to go back, though her son wants his mother to live with her. And she also makes the youngest one not to speak English. And whenever the young child tries to watch TV and try to imitate the words which he hears, in which if it is in English, she tries to stop him. Rafaela, who drinks coconut and papaya juice on Tuesdays. Rafaela is a very young girl but a very beautiful girl. She is so beautiful that her husband locks her inside his house whenever he goes out. And particularly on Tuesdays, he goes out with his friends to play dominoes. And on these days, Rafaela, what she does is she opens a window and she watches the children play. Actually, the children in the road and herself, they are the same age. So this is the age when she must be playing, but now she is married to a man and she is locked inside. And then she will call these children and she will lower $1 to them with the use of a clothesline, and she'll ask them to buy a sweet drink. It can be either a coconut drink or a papaya drink. Sally is Esperanza's friend. who's with the smoky nylons and eyes like Egypt. And she is the source of attraction for all the boys, and the girls actually disdain her because of the way she dresses and the way she flirts with the boys. But Esperanza admires both Sally for her boldness and the zest for life, and she feels that this her own spirit of dreams and suits with Sally, and somehow she feels that Sally and herself are isolated from others. And Sally tells that her life is quite different from the flirtations which she practices at home, because her father is very strict, and he feels that being beautiful is dangerous, and therefore when she goes home, she runs home and she straightens her skirt and she looks only downcast while going home. But in school she flirts with all the boys. Minerva writes poems. There is another person called Minerva, a girl not much older than Esperanza, but she is already married and she has 2 kids and a husband, and this husband keeps on leaving her. And after putting her children to bed, Minerva spends her times writing poems. Then after writing the poems, she folds the small pieces and grips it in the hand. And Minerva suffers because what happens is her husband leaves her and he goes, but after some time he will come back. When her husband leaves her, Minerva will think she is not going to allow him inside again. But when he comes, she accepts him. But within a few days, they have a problem. They have an argument and he will physically abuse her. And then after again, he will leave her and go. And when Minerva reveals this, Esperanza understands that there is no solution for it, because Minerva is not able to make up her mind. Whether she wants a husband or whether she doesn't want a husband, she has to decide and stick to it. But Minerva is not able to do it. So Esperanza feels that no one can help her. Bumps in the attic. Now, Esperanza describes a longing for a house like the ones where her father gardens, and on Sundays her family drives by and gazes at their houses. And when going there, a type of a shame prevents Esperanza from joining them and going and exploring the gardens. And Esperanza vows that her own house will definitely have a garden, and even after going there, she'll never forget from where she came. And she feels that she will let bums live in an attic, because she knows how it feels to not have a house. Beautiful and cruel. Here what happens is, this is the beginning of Esperanza's own quiet war against machismo. That is, she feels that she will not allow herself to get tamed, or she will not wait for a husband like others. And this rebellion itself reflects in her, like she starts leaving the table dish on the chair, and she does not push the chair, she does not clear the plates and all that after eating, because she feels that when men can do it, why can't even I do it? A smart cookie. In this chapter, the readers learn of Mama's past, because Mama comes and she talks to Esperanza and she says that no one spoke to me when I was your age. And she feels that if anyone could have, if I could have been someone else if I was well educated, or if I did not have any inferiority complex in me. And actually, if you see, means Mama can speak in different languages, like she knows 2 languages fluently. She's very good in handbag, she's artistic, and she also sings beautifully. She's musical. And even now Mama sings in operas, and she prepares breakfast and dreams of seeing a ballet. And she tells her daughter to study well, only then she cannot depend on a man for her living. And she says that she should not feel ashamed of herself and her situation, and she has to fight against the shame. And she says, maybe you're like me, because even when I was your age, I was feeling ashamed of my situation, and that is the reason why I quit school. And she says that it was my proudness which made me to do it, because I was not able to wear nice clothes to the school. But if only I had studied, I would have lived a much better life, and our family standard also would have been much better. And only a father is the source of income for the family now, and that is the reason why we are suffering. What Sally said. Now what happens is, Sally comes and tells about her father's abuse to Esperanza. Actually, her father used to abuse her physically. That is, he used to hit her very hard because he is very strict. But Sally will never tell about it. She'll only say, yes, he hits me, but never hard. Or she'll say that she fell down somewhere, and that is why the wounds are there in her body. And then later on, she says, all this is happening to me because I'm a daughter and not a son. And her father fears that she will also bring shame to the family like how her sisters did. And Sally says that with the Cotterer family, she actually, whenever father beats her, she runs off to Cotterer's family. But later on, her father will come and then he'll say, I'm sorry for beating you, I'll not beat you, and all that. And believing him, she'll go back, but it'll happen again. And this is what happens to her always. She knows that her father also will not change, and she has a fear of her father, so she cannot escape from him also. The monkey garden. Now, when the family who owned both monkey and a garden moved back to Kentucky, Esperanza is very happy because there is no need for her to hear the animals screech at night. Moreover that, now she can go and explore the garden because the monkey is not there. First, the garden looked wonderful because it was so very beautiful, like a botanical beauty. And what happened is, it was the overgrown graveyard which was for the cars. And the garden was a sight of childhood pleasure for Esperanza. And as she is exploring the garden, she sees Sally entering there with a group of boys. Now what happens is, Esperanza thinks that she has to save her from those boys because she feels that Sally has come with the boys without knowing the danger which she may get into it. So she picks up some sticks and bricks to save Sally. But what happens is, when Sally comes near Esperanza, she tells Esperanza to go away so that she can be alone with the boys there. Hearing this, Esperanza feels ashamed and she runs to the other side of the garden. And under a jungle tree, she sits there and painfully comes to the terms with the fact that she herself is no longer a carefree girl and she has to learn about life and about the society. Red clowns. Now what happens is, this is a chapter where Esperanza is shattered by her first kiss because here a boy forces himself upon her in a carnival. While waiting for her companion, that is Sally, who has gone with a big boy, Esperanza is waiting for her to come back. That time Esperanza is surrounded and assaulted, and she feels that this is not the feeling which she thought she'll experience while she's being kissed. Because earlier, Sally and the novels and the magazines which she has read, they had promised about the kiss of a boy in a different way. But when this boy forced himself on her, it was something which she did not like, and she felt that she was humiliated. Linoleum roses. Now here finally Sally's fate is sealed because now she marries a marshmallow salesman from a school bazaar which is in another state, because in that state getting married to a girl who is below the 8th grade is legal. And now Sally feels that she is not in love, but she will have material goods after marriage. And as another, Esperanza feels that she is agreed for the marriage because it is one way for her to escape from her family. And Sally now can buy things and she can be on her own, and she is very sure that her husband will give her money. But after some time only we come to know that Sally is though she claims to be happy, her husband is very violent, and in his violence he has once even broken the door with his foot because he was so angry, and he was very possessive. And the same beauty which made her father to beat her and be very strict with her happens with her husband also. Now Sally is prevented from using the telephone, having visitors, going outside. Now Sally is not even allowed to look out of the window also. Her only pleasure is she can be inside the house which is locked and keep looking at the walls, ceiling and the linoleum rose floors at her home which are perfectly met. And this is the fate of Sally in this novel. And then the three sisters. Lucy, Rachel, they have a baby sister. That baby sister dies. So Esperanza goes to the funeral, and there she meets the last comrades. That is the three strange and mysterious old sisters who have the power to see what will happen and what is what. And without any warning, the old lady calls Esperanza and inquires about her name. And she takes her hands and looks at the hand and tells Esperanza to make a wish. And then they promise that this wish will come true. And then the one with the marble hands calls her aside and teaches her an important lesson. She says that Esperanza has a tie with a circle, and although she will leave the mango street, she will definitely come back to help others to escape as easily as her. And this as an answer for Esperanza's insecurities. And the mystical woman also tells Esperanza that she cannot forget what she knows. That is Mango Street, and she knows that this is Mango Street is neither identity, but her name is anyway linked to her name, and the Mango Street will always be there because it is a part of her, and definitely she will, wherever she goes, Esperanza will return to her roots. Then after hearing this, Esperanza is not able to understand the full content of it, so she leaves those women and she goes and plays with the playmates, and Esperanza says that she never saw those women later again. Alicia and I talking on Edna's steps. Alicia listens to Esperanza's sadness and not having a own house, and unlike Alicia's dream to come one day to return to Guadalajara, Mexico, Esperanza has no sense of belonging to Mango Tree, and she wonders how Alicia wants to go back to the place where she belonged, because Esperanza thinks, why I don't have that belongingness to Mango Street, and she doesn't want even to go back to a place of origin. And Alicia, who is a girl who is wiser than others, tells Esperanza that she cannot escape being a part of Mango Street, and one day she will return there. Now this is second time someone is telling Esperanza this, and Esperanza retorts that she will not come back unless someone improves in that neighborhood, and she feels that no one is interested in improving themselves there. A house of my own. Now Esperanza's dream home is neither an apartment nor her husband's house, but a house of her own which fulfills all Esperanza's personal needs and also her dreams. And she says that she will fill this house with flowers and pillows on the porch, books and stories and all that, and she'll be so happy to be alone and independent there, and she longs to have her own pristine world, which is from her dream as quiet as the snow and clean as a paper. And this is the last chapter where Mango says goodbye sometimes, and here we come to know that Esperanza lives a life of true stories which she writes, and all these stories are in her head, and she tells the reader that I'm going to tell you a story about a girl who didn't want to belong. Actually this is the beginning of the story also, and then Esperanza gives the summary of the family's different addresses. That is, this is what she tells in the first chapter also about the different places where they lived, and finally how they come to Mango Street. And she also stops at Mango Street because she remembers the sad red house, the house I belong but do not belong to the most. And here she stops the story. It's a beautiful story narrated in one person, the first person, Esperanza, and this is a widely read story. I hope you like the summary. If you have anything to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box. Like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe. Thank you.